Well, this month has been marked by a series of violent shootings across the country, leaving many families and communities traumatized. Today's deadly incident in Bekkersdal is the latest reminder of that reality. To help us understand the psychological impact of such violence, we're now joined by clinical psychologist Dr. Tumi Mashego. Dr. Mashego, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, let's look at then the impact here on communities beyond the headlines, the crime stats that we see on a quarterly basis. These types of incidents must leave, deep fear, as one guest told me earlier. When a community experiences a mass killing like this one, what are the immediate psychological effects you typically see among residents?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's quite sad what, the society we are living in, because what has transpired is indicative of the woundedness of, our society, and the fact that daily we're experiencing violent acts and, we're becoming desensitized to violence. But in the same breath, when such an incident happens, people tend to then develop a lot of anxiety, restlessness, just that discomfort because, you don't know what you don't know. Like, you don't know what could happen next or what was the root cause for such violence. But also just flashbacks, because also just from hearing someone talk about trauma, you get what we call secondary traumatization or vicarious traumatization from hearing that trauma. That's why me as a clinical psychologist, I need to go debrief, because constantly hearing, traumatic stories can cause harm to you as a human being, because it's really unnatural, the things that have happened, and it's really quite scary.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone is affected, but I want to talk about children particularly. In the scenes that we saw at Bekkersdal, some children were allowed to watch. A neighbor was telling our reporter that, the parents should actually be removing children from these scenes. Often these children become these silent victims in these situations. So even if they didn't witness the violence, how does repeated exposure to stories of shootings and killings affect their mental and even emotional development?
I mean, you can imagine witnessing such or even hearing about such, that in itself can cause one to develop, abnormal behavior or mental health challenges such as anxiety. And in severe cases, it can actually lead to severe pathology where someone becomes so desensitized or far removed from their emotions that they develop things like your antisocial personality, where they kill without remorse. They themselves start, acting out violently without any remorse. Because when you speak to people who are acting out with such remorse, without remorse, apologies, when you sit with them and ask them what's happening, why are you doing this, they'll take you back, to say that, when I was a child, this has happened to me, and that's why I'm like this, I'm angry. So meaning this anger has literally become their personality, and no one is born angry. It's from the environments that they find themselves in, whereby their personality can literally change from being, exposed to severe aggression and violence. And it's not just in this incidents, but also just on social media. I mean, daily in the news you're hearing all these things. So becoming desensitized to this can really lead to psychopathology, in that personality can really change, because incidents like this will change you forever in whatever form or shape, whether you are becoming more anxious or becoming more aggressive, but you'll never be the same after this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what would you then say directly to parents or even caregivers who may be struggling to explain this kind of violence to children while they themselves are hurting or even scared? I mean, we heard how some people in this case are scared to even talk to police officers in terms of what they saw. It becomes even more dangerous, I would imagine, for them, given that the perpetrators are still out there.
Definitely, but I would really recommend that they find professional help, your clinics, to come and debrief. So really, I think government really has to assist these the survivors of this, because they have, survivor's guilt, probably anxiety, just constant fear and not knowing who to trust. But I think really debriefing is important in a safe space with professionals, of course, such as myself, where they can be assisted to process all this, but also for the children. Remember, things that we repress, suppress, don't necessarily go away. It's not that we are not impacted if we don't talk about something. It will come out in some way or another, whether you are projecting it in the way you interact or in the way you parent, right? Because you are not okay. So I think the children, everybody actually who witnessed this and who's involved in this, the community at large, there needs to be some sort of debriefing, definitely. And the ones who are the most at risk to develop, psychopathology or severe mental health illnesses, to be assisted on a long-term basis. But definitely there needs to be that. And for the children as well, to ensure that in spite of what happened, that they are assisted to process the emotions, emanating from this, the intense emotions and, their fear, understandably so. So it's really key that there is some sort of psychosocial support, as soon as possible.
You touched a little bit on this, but if trauma from mass violence like this is not addressed, what are the potential long-term consequences for individuals and for society at large?
It will definitely lead to poor coping strategies, because you can imagine if you witness this, there's a chance, high increased chance for you to develop flashbacks, nightmares. A lot of things can go wrong internally because of this experience. Therefore, there's a need to be assisted to process all the intense emotions that you are feeling. And also, if not addressed, there will be, people trying to numb the feelings. And it comes through in different ways, where some people use over-the-counter medication, serious, prescriptions, substances, hardcore substances, and that's where you get poor coping strategies as well, where people are never the same. Some, of course, when people are depressed or anxious, it presents differently for each and every one. Some people are outgoing when they were usually more withdrawn, meaning they just don't want to sleep and they're active, overactive, overcompensating, and some sleep too much. Some do not eat, some eat too much, some do not sleep well, nightmares, flashbacks. So it can really be an array of experiences for different people, depending on their personality and exactly what they witnessed and how they feel about the future. But definitely there's a cause for concern for the community at large, for intervention at a psychological level, but for the individuals also who are at higher risk for chronic mental health issues.
I would imagine that collective trauma also plays, a part here, particularly those that may not physically be there, but also watching on our screens. But thank you so much, Dr. Mashego. Let's leave it there for now. Really do appreciate your time. Dr. Tumi Mashego is a clinical psychologist.